Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Today I have a short but very bittersweet video. We are going to be talking about some of my disappointing books, I guess I should say, of the year. Because I didn't really truly dislike any books this year, but I had a few expectations from some that I did not get, I guess. So yes, I was a little disappointed in these reads. I actually didn't have many to choose from this list, but I do have 5 that I want to talk about. They're in no particular order. I didn't rate them because there really wasn't any type of rating I could give these books as far as like my most disappointing one. I really don't know. Like I said, I had expectations for all these books, and I'll give the reasons why, and then they just did not meet those expectations. So in no particular order, we'll start off with 2 books by the same author, and I'll go ahead and start with A Cabin at the End of the World, or The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I had really high expectations of this book. A lot of booktubers really did like this book, and I hear a lot of good things about Paul Tremblay. But I was so disappointed. I wanted to love this book so much, but I just didn't. I think I gave it like a 2.5 star. I don't really remember. And it's classified as a horror, but I don't know. I mean, I get the horror aspect of it. I really do. And it was horrible, some things that, you know, took place, but I just wasn't into the story. I don't know what it's almost like it was just unbelievable for me. Not that you know, I mean, I do read, you know, some paranormal and sci-fi things that are pretty much unbelievable, but I don't know, it just didn't roll well for me. The story just didn't flow, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it. So we have 2 dads, which I absolutely loved, a story of 2 dads and their daughter. And they are on like this vacation. They took her to this cabin in the woods, and they end up being approached by a group of people that say the end of the world is coming, and in order to save the world, you have to do these things, and these things are horrible things. But it was, in the beginning, it was a lot of let me in kind of thing. You know, they were talking from the dad and the daughter. The dads and the daughter were in the cabin, and the group of people were outside the cabin, and it was, you know, a back and forth of let me in. Honestly, it was just like, is anything ever gonna happen? Are they gonna let them in? Like, where is this going? You know, and that's kind of how it was for me throughout the entire book. I did listen to this on audio, and sorry, I keep having like this one little hair that keeps getting trapped right here in like my eyelashes, and it bugs the crap out of me, so I'm sorry if I keep doing this, but that's what's happening. But anyway, yeah, the narration was wonderful. I really liked the narration. It's just the story just didn't flow for me, and I mean, I was very sad at some of the things that took place in the book. I got it, but I don't know, it was something about the flow of the story just didn't do well for me, and just the apocalypse part of it just didn't hit me in the right spot. I don't know. It just wasn't for me, I guess. And then the second book I read by Paul Tremblay is A Head Full of Ghosts. And I did listen to this on audio. I don't have the book, but again, I didn't like it. Now, the story was actually better than, say, The Cabin at the End of the World. I preferred the story, and because it was a story in a story, which is like my favorite, so I did really like that aspect of it. But my favorite part of the story within the story was our current day story. So we have a young woman telling her story of her family when her sister became possessed, and they had like cameras come in and they had like a TV show about it and all this stuff. So she's sort of giving an interview to a reporter or a journalist about her story and the story of her sister being possessed and the story of her family and how this possession weighed on their family and how it sort of destroyed their family a little bit. So I enjoyed that story. I enjoyed her like telling the story, but I didn't enjoy the story. I'm not one, I don't like possession. I thought maybe, I knew going into this book that this had to do with possession, but you know, I've never really liked it. Like The Exorcist, no, I don't like it. I've never read The Exorcist. Is there a book? I'm sure there's a book. See, I never got into it because I just don't like that type of story. I've seen the movie, I've seen like remakes of the movie, and every time I'm like, why do I keep watching this? I don't like it. I think it's just a part of me like is curious and wants to know about it, but then when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the story and the actual possession, I'm just not into it. So anyway, I knew that going into this book, but it's been a while since I've read or watched any type of possession book or story or movie. So I thought I'd give it a try, and this was the first book by Paul Tremblay I read or listened to. And then so that's why I had such high expectations going into this one, because I was like, it's gotta be better. It's gotta be better. And actually it really wasn't. But it was just on different levels. But like I said, I liked the story, like the young woman telling her story. I liked that aspect of it. And they had like sort of like blog entries throughout the story, and I really enjoyed that, but I just didn't like the possession story part of it. So now I know that I still don't like possession stories. I just don't. Maybe one day I'll find me one, because honestly I'm still curious about possession. I do think it's fascinating, and I kind of want to know about it, but in another way I don't. It sort of scares me. But anyway, yeah, I think I gave this again 2.5 stars. I don't really remember, but yeah. I'm really sad about it because I've heard so many good things about Paul Tremblay, and the 2 stories so far that I've read by him / listened, I didn't like. So, but I'll keep trying. Next up, I have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This one I had expectations about because of the author, because of Ruth Ware. I haven't really read anything yet besides this book that that I didn't love by her. I have not read In a Dark, Dark Wood yet. That is on my TBR back here. Look, see this TBR? There's another shelf down there. It's like 2 rows of books on each shelf. I really need to get to that this year. But I have not read that one yet, and I hear that one's not her best work either. So like I said, I've read her other books and I've really enjoyed those. So, you know, I had expectations, not truly like high expectations, but I figured I was gonna like it. You know, it sounded really good. The synopsis sounded really good. And I just didn't. It just didn't do it for me. So in this book, I don't even remember the characters. We have a young woman who is a reporter, I believe. In the beginning of the book, something happens to her, and she then leaves to go on a cruise as a reporter. It's like a new cruise line, and she's doing a report on it, and things go down basically. And there's a woman that she meets in cabin 10. Like, she asks to borrow mascara, which you do not borrow someone else's mascara. You don't do it. Just don't do it. It's gross. Especially someone you don't know. Now, if someone you know, your best friend, and you know their eyelashes are clean, then yeah, go for it. But a stranger? No. Stranger danger. Do not borrow their mascara. But anyway, that was just a minute part that really bothered me in this book. So she goes to borrow this mascara from this stranger in cabin 10, and next thing you know, like, she sees, or she thinks she sees, something happening to this young woman that she borrowed this mascara from, and she tries to prove it because she goes to tell someone and they're like, I'm sorry ma'am, but the cabin 10 does not have an occupant in it, so there couldn't be anything that happened. So I think they like go check it out, and like the room is like clean and spotless and there's like nothing there. So she's like, thinks she's like losing her mind. And I know it does sound good, right? But I think it's just the story just drew out too much on it, and I just got really bored, and there was just nothing happening, no action taking place, there was no thriller aspect of it. Yes, the mystery was there, but it just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't have it for me. And then in the end, when, you know, things are starting to wrap up, I didn't feel fulfilled. Like I was just like, I don't know. I didn't know how to feel at the end. I was like, do I like this ending? Do I not like this ending? I did give it 3 stars because I mean it wasn't bad in any way at all. The writing was, it was definitely, you know, Ruth Ware, but I don't know, something about the story just kind of drug on for me, and I didn't find it thrilling. Or again, I don't know how to talk bad about these books. Not talking bad, I'm just saying I had a higher expectation because I've read Ruth Ware before and I've enjoyed all her books, but this one just wasn't it for me. And I'm really sad about this book. I'll put a picture of it here. This is An Easy Death by Charlaine Harris. Charlaine Harris is one of my favorite authors. I loved all the Sookie Stackhouse series. Phenomenal. There was a show on HBO. I don't know if anybody was ever into True Blood or the whole vampire phase, but I freaking loved it. Freaking loved it. Michael and I actually we used to do these fun Christmas cards back in the day. I have a friend that did graphic design, and she has now, like, she's moved away, and we don't really talk much anymore. Kind of lost that connection. Every now and then on social media we'll tell each other hi or whatever. But yeah, she used to do our Christmas cards, and she took we would pick out something, like a picture that we liked or something that we were into at this time, and one of them was like a True Blood steal of Sookie and Bill. And so she would put our faces on these characters, and I'll put a picture of it here so you can see what I'm talking about. I love this picture so much. But anyway, back to An Easy Death and Charlaine Harris. I've loved everything she's put out so far. She's the Sookie Stackhouse series, the Aurora Teagarden Cozy Mysteries. Those, if you're a cozy mystery reader, check those out. Absolutely my favorite. She has some standalone mysteries that are really good as well. I'm looking over at my shelf over here at my Charlaine Harris collection. She recently had like the Midnight Crossing series. I think it was a 3-book series. Those were really good. I really enjoyed those. What's happening with my shirt? But this is a new series she just started. In fact, the 2nd book just came out, but I will not be picking it up. I just did not like this at all. In fact, I think I gave it maybe a 1 star, 1.5, 2, I don't know. I did not like it at all. Why I didn't DNF it, I don't know, because I love Charlaine Harris probably, and I was hoping the story would pull through for me, but it just didn't. I don't even remember anything about the story. I know we have, like, it's almost kind of in an apocalyptic time, which sounded really interesting, and then we have like this gunslinger chick. She's like a badass chick, but I don't know what the point of the story was for. She's looking for her father, maybe, and she runs across these 2 vampires. So it's still paranormal. Charlaine Harris is known for like her paranormal stories. Of course, Aurora Teagarden is just cozy mysteries, and she has like a couple regular mysteries. She has other series as well that I've read that I really enjoyed. The Shakespeare series, some sort of landlord series. they're kind of hidden by other books, but I'm trying to see. But anyway, I've loved everything I've read. Loved everything I've read of Charlaine Harris. And she just has a mark on me, especially with True Blood and Sookie Stackhouse. I absolutely love those books as well as the show on HBO. But this just did not do it for me at all. And that's all I have to say about this book. And last, but certainly not least, I didn't leave this one last. But it kind of turned out that way that I left this one last because this is the one that I was most disappointed about. This is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but this author, or I don't know her personally, but she is a friend of my nephew's. My nephew lives in Los Angeles. He is also into writing. He's writing his own story right now. In fact, I have a first chapter of his story that I need to read and get to so I can give him my honest opinion. Even though I love him, I want to love his story, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, he told me about this book and how this was going to be her debut book, and it was young adult and it was fantasy. So I was like, oh, I have to read it. I do love some young adult. I've been out of the whole young adult fantasy for a little while. I've read some last year that I kind of liked. A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Loved that book. I gave it a 5-star rating. It was actually in my top 5. Just other books that I've read throughout the year 2019. It was my last video actually, which will be linked down below if you want to go check that out. But yeah, I wasn't into the story. The story just wasn't for me. I loved all the characters. I really did. I started reading this and I couldn't get into it. So I started it on audio, which the narration was phenomenal. So if you haven't read this yet and you have it on your TBR, I highly recommend the audio because her narration is just on point. But as good as she was, I still couldn't get into the story. I don't know. I was talking to my nephew actually yesterday, and I was telling him that I wanted to love it so much, but it just didn't. Something about the story just wasn't for me, I guess. But it has to do with lost magic, and I think there was just maybe so much about it and that I couldn't wrap my head around it. Zélie was her name, was our main young character's name, a young woman who is maybe trying to discover her magic and bring it back. There's a prince and a princess that's involved in the story. I think the main thing is that they're trying to bring magic back into their world. And Zélie is a big part of that. Her family history has a lot to do with this lost magic. So, and I think it's like up to her to bring it back. The second book just came out at the end of 2019, I believe. But I did not pick it up. I don't plan on picking it up. But again, the writing was there. The writing in the world that she created. Wow. But I just wasn't into the story. And like I said, I did like the characters and the narration was awesome. I just could not get into that story. Okay, this hair, I'm about to tear it out of my head. So it just keeps getting stuck. And I know I'm probably aggravating y'all with keep flipping my hair this way. I'm so sorry. Anyway, yeah. So I was just really disappointed. I gave this a 3. I gave the narration a 5. As far as like my rating on Audible, I gave the narration a 5. I gave the story a 3, and I gave it overall just a 3. I don't know. I was just so disappointed because I wanted to love this so much because it was recommended by my nephew. And because, you know, he knew the author and he knew this was her debut book, and he was excited for her. I wanted to love it, but I just didn't, and that's okay. A lot of people do really love this book though. It just wasn't for me. Okay, y'all, that is it. A little disclaimer, I didn't do this in the beginning that I should have, but if you liked any of these books, please don't take it to heart. It's nothing personal that I didn't like these books. We're all just very different. We're all different in our reading taste, and what we like. And I encourage you to read these books if you have not. Judge for yourself how you feel about these books, or about any book. I'm sure there's a book on here that I love that you didn't like, and that's totally fine. Like I said, it's nothing personal at all. It's just my reading taste is different, possibly different from some of you out there. So please don't take this to heart, and please don't take it as an offense to any of these books. But I would love to hear what books that you maybe were disappointed in this year. So put those down below for me. I'd love to see, maybe I've read them and I really liked. If there's something that I really liked that you didn't, I want to know. Just out of curiosity, so yeah, just let me know. But thank y'all so much for watching today. I appreciate all of y'all. All the books that I have mentioned today will be linked down below for your convenience if you want to go find them. I'll also have my Goodreads 2019 list of books that I read. I read 92 books in the year of 2019, so I'll have that link if you just want to scroll through my books that I read, just because you're curious. I do it to other people. I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it was my disappointing books of 2019. I think that's gonna be it for my reads of 2019, so I hope you enjoyed all these videos that I put out. I'll have those videos linked down below if you want to go check out the other ones if you hadn't got a chance to view those yet, and all my social medias as well. But thank y'all again, and have a great weekend. I'll see y'all next week with some book hauls. Bye y'all.